AskReddit by Peach Milkshake 2319. Serious. First responders of Reddit, what is a terrifying situation that you wish more people knew how to handle to result in less casualties? Attention. Serious. Tag notice. Jokes, puns, and off-topic comments are not permitted. https://www.reddit.com/r/wiki/wiki_rule_6 in any comment parent or child. Parent comments that aren't from the target group will be removed, along with their child replies. Report comments that violate these rules. Posts that have few relevant answers within the first hour, and posts that are not appropriate for the serious tag will be removed. Consider doing an AMA request instead. Thanks for your cooperation and enjoy the discussion. I am a bot, and this action was performed automatically. Please contact the moderators of this subreddit. Message compose $to =r AskReddit if you have any questions or concerns. Have your address clearly marked in AMP lit so responders can get to you quickly. Every second counts. So many of the tips here are wilderness survival, and I can't argue those will help. But coming from a kid that's suburban raised in city for the last dozen, this hit me hard. How to perform a Heimlich on yourself. You're a goner without a doubt if you're by yourself and food gets too stuck. It is way too common to find people choke to death on toilet stalls at restaurants. By instinct they don't want to disturb others and seek a place where they try to get whatever is stuck on their throat out. Please, if you are choking, try to get help and let everyone know that you are in trouble. Oh, I don't want to embarrass myself and ruin people's night, so I'll just die in the toilet is a wrong mindset in that situation. If you are dealing with someone who has been stabbed or impaled and the item is still inside the body, do not pull it out. There's always that one urban legend of the new paramedic who pulls the knife out and his partner yells at him, "What the fuck is he doing?" So he panics and puts it back in. Friend of mine is a police officer in his home city. If your friend is drunk, get them a cab home. Do not leave them to take the train home. He always tells me 90% of the people he gets run over by trains are drunks who fall into the train tracks. And there are so many drunk young men who fall into canals and drown that we've created a new urban legend serial killer, the smiley face killer. Limb amputations. Easy to save someone with a tourniquet. Keep a few in your car, know how to apply them. It can save your or someone else's life. Tons and tons of blood dumps out of an amputation. Worse, so many people think they are dangerous. Oh, but they will lose the limb. 1. Unlikely unless it's on there 4 hours or the limb is already fucked. 2. I think it is better to be alive with 3 limbs than dead with like 3.8. Treat every gun as if it's loaded. Proper weapons handling according to the Marine Corps. Rule 1. Treat every weapon as if it were loaded. Rule 2. Never point a weapon at anything you do not intend to shoot. Rule 3. Keep your finger straight and off the trigger until you are ready to fire. Rule 4. Keep the weapon on safe until you intend to fire. Rule 5. Know what lies beyond and between you and your target. Wear your fucking seatbelt. And make sure others in the car also wear their seatbelt. XEMT here. We're talking 13 years ago. It's not a great idea to put the pedal down as soon as the traffic light turns green. Wait a couple extra seconds. That first 2-3 seconds when the light turns green is a great time to get nailed by some idiot blowing through a red light. When it comes to driving, always check, never assume. One thing a senior supervisor taught me as a crisis social worker: if it feels bad or wrong, trust it. Don't push past it. There's usually a good reason, you intuitively know that. Also, lock up your damn guns. Also, even if all of your friends did it but you still feel unsure about doing what they did, don't. Perhaps your friends were lucky, perhaps they had more skill than you and have done that before. You have not. Do not attempt if you don't feel the confidence. I'm not a first responder, but I have a friend who is. He says stay off of train tracks. Don't squish pennies or do photo shoots on them or walk on them at all. Believe it or not, trains can sneak up on you at an alarming speed and they do not slow down. I saw a TikTok the other day where a girl was showing how she puts on her prosthetic ear. I wondered how she lost her ear, so went to her profile to see if she had a video about it. Turns out she had been on some train tracks, making a TikTok video, of course, and she didn't know that train tracks are electrified. She tripped and fell on the electric rail and got severe electrical burns in several places, including one that literally melted her ear off. She also claimed in her video that the reason she didn't know about the electric rail was because UK schools don't teach you about this, which made me roll my eyes because A, yes they do, and B, even if they didn't, there have been literal ad campaigns warning people not to mess around on train tracks, not to mention all the fucking signs near the tracks themselves, and also basic common sense, because even if you didn't know about the electricity, there's still the risk of a fucking train coming. How to inject an EpiPen. My two best friends are both allergic to a wide variety of foods, and also bees, and they are some of the least concerned humans I've ever met when it comes to EpiPens. One usually has his in the car and the other just kinda lives by. I've made it this far without one on me. No real point to this information other than them being fucking dumble mayo. Children choking. Every parent should assume at some point their child will choke on something and know how to handle such situation. I choked on a Flintstone gummy when I was super young. My poor mom was scared as hell, but to her credit acted fast and got me to cough it back up. Always wear a seatbelt. Don't drive drunk under any circumstances. Test your drugs. Don't put anything in the mouth of someone having a seizure. Protect their head and let them seize. Learn how to do CPR. Especially your finger, as people experiencing seizures don't have the ability at that moment to prevent themselves from biting too hard. If you ever encounter a heavily burnt person running to you, they always run in the hope to survive. Don't touch them with your bare hands. Your hands might be too hard for their burnt skin and flesh. Always touch them with cloth or towel. Also, your hands are too dirty. Wear gloves if you can. If everyone in a room, vehicle, building is unresponsive, do not enter for any reason. If you see someone collapse after entering a confined space, do not enter for any reason. If you see a person collapse near a potential chemical spill, do not enter for any reason. Overall, if it killed them, it will kill you. Examples arise year after year of a person who asphyxiates in a confined space and their would-be rescuer also asphyxiates. Nitrogen gas seems to be a common culprit. First responders with O2 sensors and SCBA should go in only when trained and equipped accordingly. If you lose your child in a crowded area, shout out what they are wearing as well as their name. It makes them much easier to identify to others. If you're swimming in the ocean and you get knocked over and can't tell which way is up, exhale and follow the bubbles. When my kids were little, anytime we'd go to a busy, crowded place, I'd take a picture of them before we went in so I would have a picture of exactly what they were wearing. I'd also sometimes dress them in bright colored shirts to make it easier to spot them if we got separated. Whenever you encounter an emergency situation, stop what you're doing and say to yourself, this is not my emergency. This will, hopefully, allow you to take a step back and assess the situation and prevent you from making poor, split-second decisions. So many people jump into swift water trying to save someone else, only to become a second victim. Some people quickly try to extricate victims, but injure them further. Allow yourself to look at things as objectively as possible and you'll make much better decisions. First thing I was told when I did my first aid CPR course was help if you can without endangering yourself. When I did my first sailing course, it was help if you can without endangering yourself, your crew, or your vessel. If you charge in without assessing the situation, then there's one more person to be rescued, and one less person available to provide help. Rule 1 is don't make the situation worse. If you're in a car accident, especially a busy intersection roadway, don't just get out. If your car is drivable, get it out of the roadway. If it's not drivable, get yourself out of the street ASAP. Can't count how many times I've almost been struck by drivers not paying attention or just not giving a shit and driving fast past accident scenes. I keep 2 reflective vests in my car in case I, and possibly one of my passengers, needs to get out on the side of the road during an emergency or in case of car trouble. You don't have to have phone service to dial an emergency number. It will be prioritized for any available network, so if there's signal from anything it will get through, not just your network. Similarly, if you don't know the emergency number of a country you're in, try the one for your home country. A lot of places will have common ones worldwide go through too. Also, always Google the emergency number before you go on vacation and write it in your notes on your phone. I always do. Never needed it, but you never know. All I'm getting from reading this is that I should just stay home. Where you're at risk of dying from a stroke while sitting on the toilet, trying to dislodge the food you're choking on. Shit. 1. Drownings don't look like they do on Baywatch. Don't expect splashing, screaming or frantic waving. People who are drowning often look like someone being a bit of a weirdo playing by themselves, head going under then popping up like a boy that's waited. 2. Drowning people are dangerous to your safety and you need to approach the situation by prioritizing your own survival. It is the natural response of a drowning person to cling on to whatever they can to stay afloat. That includes you. Given the chance, they will climb on your head, and you need to approach a drowning person with the assumption that they absolutely will. Proceed with a flotation device for them to cling to. If you don't have one, approach feet first, ready to push off if they try to clamber onto you. 3. Don't jump into the water to save someone unless you know in absolute certainty that you can get both of you back out. The ocean doesn't care how well you swim and bathe as at the pool, it is an absolute force of nature. Don't become a second victim to be saved. Your best intentions don't help anyone. 4. Don't walk on the rocks. Don't swim near the rocks. Don't fish from the rocks. Stay off the damn rocks. I'm not a first responder, however I had friends who worked in EMT and I was trained for first aid and a few other certifications while in school. Always keep a first aid kit and tourniquet in your car. I've had many close calls, luckily only needed it once. Guy ran a red light and I T-boned him. He was uninjured and drove away, however my leg was cut so badly that if I hadn't used my tourniquet, I would have bled to death. Also get training for first aid, you never know when you'll need it. It can save your life, and others' lives in a bad situation. Last thing I'm gonna write here is, when you're driving, keep the mindset that everyone is a maniac on the road. It'll keep you prepared to avoid an accident if you need to. Clearing a simple choking obstruction, especially in infants. Depending on your definition of first responder, 911 dispatcher here. Listen to us. People are literally trained to give simple life-saving instruction to you. Talking over us, ignoring, or just saying get here now and hanging up takes away from saving whom you're calling for. Also take a CPR class. It'll help to have the background knowledge even if you're in a panicked state. Hearing the instructions might help to calm you down a little when you realize you know how to do it. EMT and nursing student here. If you do not feel okay to drive because of drinks or anything, please do not think you are good enough to drive. That is somebody's significant other, parent, grandparent. I'm sick of all these drunk drivers. I stopped going out for 4th of July parties and New Year's Eve parties a long time ago. Drowning. lived in Hawaii for 21 years, and almost no one knows CPR. The class is free and takes 3 hours. My uncle used to be a cop. He said that if someone is overdosing, you should still call 911 because you could save their life, and there will be absolutely no legal trouble. And you don't have to wait 48 hours to report someone is missing. The sooner the better. My dad used to be a firefighter. He said that if you ever wake up to the smell of gas, don't turn anything on, because it's electrical damage, and it can cause a fiery explosion. He also said that when cooking something in a pan, and it catches on fire, don't use water to put it out, use the pan cover. Deleted. Most of these seem really solid, but I'm not sure I'm following why my pet would be leading me into a trap. Learn CPR and practice to keep your skills fresh. If you witness an incident, the more you can circulate their blood until first responders get there, the better the chances are for survival. Most of this shit you won't remember or will be bad at. Nice to know, I guess. What might actually help educate yourself and especially your elderly family members about DNRs and MOLST forms. The few that actually, finally have them won't know how they work and won't have them handy. I'll make a phone call, but telemetry might still make me do CPR and intubate grandma with end-stage cancer because you can't find the paperwork. My father is DNR and it is the first thing I tell the staff upon any admission. The paperwork is in every vehicle myself and my so own, and in a laptop bag which goes almost everywhere with me. The hospital has a copy but I still give it every time. My friend works in EMT and with years of experience, his team is like the main team. They know a few things so I tend to listen when he tries to warn people and teach them how and what to do. We concluded that the majority of people, even though they know what to do in an emergency, tend to panic and get stuck. They are now offering classes to understand how to react when panic kicks in, and as they say, one person who doesn't panic but has less knowledge is far more important than the one who knows all the medical procedures but has panicked and froze. Many times people couldn't even give a proper address to the dispatch, and that causes major delays and can potentially make a difference between life and death. If you have any of the classes close to you, please attend at least for a few hours. Try to learn how to act under stress. If all fails, dial 911, 112 and give as detailed info as possible. Try to stay calm and listen for the instructions by the dispatch. They can direct your call to the doctor, firefighter, police officer or anything you might need help with. Download the app. What 3 words? Even if you know where you are, this information gives exact pinpoint location where you are for anywhere in the world and can be quicker to explain if you are in a huge building like a shopping center, or somewhere remote. Know how to give CPR. For an adult, your hand on the middle of the chest, between the nipples. Other hand on top and interlock your fingers. Push from your shoulders down about 2 inches hard and fast. The rate needs to be around twice per second, to the beat of Staying Alive. You don't have to give rescue breaths, and there's only a few circumstances that it's asked to be given now. Download the Red Cross First Aid app on your phone. Add free instructions with pictures on how to perform CPR, help someone with a heart attack, etc. Just pull to the right. Seriously, our lights go on and people start doing random shit all over the road. Just pull to the right and at least make an effort to stop. However, if we're splitting down a lane and everyone in front of you moves to the left to make a hole down the middle, do not be the singular idiot that blocks off that hole. Avoid getting out your car on the shoulder or even near the freeway at all costs. Get a flat, drive to the nearest exit. Your rim can be replaced, you can't be. Freeways are probably one of the most dangerous places to be on the job. If you have to stop, pull as far away from the main traffic as possible, get out on the passenger side, stand behind the barriers and back from your car so that if someone hits it you're not in the danger zone. If you've got a flat, pull onto the shoulder, put your hazards on, and drive slowly and amp gently along to the next exit or pull off. Trained bystander CPR has a bigger factor on bringing back a cardiac arrest than what we do. By a lot. Especially when it comes to keeping brain function intact. But also an out-of-hospital cardiac arrest has a 10% average success rate, and the expectation should not be the Hollywood one shock and saved. If you or someone you love has a terminal illness, you should strongly be considering a DNR because the recovery is not pretty for people that are already fighting the collapse of their body. Your grandma with kidney disease and dementia that hasn't been visited in the nursing home for 6 months deserves to die with dignity and not get her chest crushed by a couple goons that went to a few months of community college because she's a fighter. How to check for opiate overdose. Loss of consciousnness, pinpoint pupils, not breathing, and how to administer naloxone. It's free at www.tordthehat.com. I just read something that if you're lost and your phone is about to die, change your voicemail to give an approximate location of where you are. 4 parents had a call for check for fire that turned out to be medical. During Hurricane Ike, 9-year-old kid fell off his bike a week before and X-ray cleared him. He progressively got a little worse, and when I arrived, he had heavy breathing, limbs were cold and body was hot. He was lying down and asked me if he could throw up, which I helped him roll over. He then threw up blood all over me and went into cardiac arrest and died. The kid had what they call a dissected artery from the bike fall that was slowly bleeding out. The takeaway: request an MRI even if the doctors don't recommend it. It would have saved this kid's life. ERMD here. If a person collapses and has a cardiac arrest, do not perform mouth to mouth. Just perform high quality chest compressions, continuously, until EMS arrives. High quality chest compressions, 100 per minute, and appropriate defibrillation are the only interventions that have been shown in the medical literature to lead to positive medical outcomes. Always wear a seat belt, and if you're in the passenger seat, never put your feet up on the dash. Install smoke detectors in your home, and if it goes off, don't get up out of bed but roll out and crawl as long as you're not able to see if there is smoke in the room. With a sucking chest wound, SCW, seal the front and back wounds so that no air can escape or be brought into the chest cavity. Remember, air follows least resistance. And amp. The hard band under the Adam's apple is where to cut for an emergency tracheotomy. A pen does not work. Movie BS. What about on women? Legit, all my trach knowledge comes directly from the movie Anaconda. Know your emergency exits, especially at crowded events, big stores. In case of fire or active shooter, etc., everyone will panic and go the main entrance, the way they came in, but there is emergency exits, you should go to the closest safe exit. Stop co-sleeping with infants. They don't need to be in the bed with you, even if you don't plan to fall asleep. It's crazy to me how many people argue that there's nothing dangerous about it. The stories of a parent unknowingly suffocating their infant child are absolutely haunting. More lay people need to know how to properly apply tourniquets, treat massive hemorrhage. It's the world we live in, and it's sad, but it's not nearly as sad as people dying from something easily treated. XEMT and ER nurse. Proper way to help a choking infant. If you don't support the head properly while delivering back blows, you can seriously mess up their neck. Never remove a motorcyclist's helmet after a nasty crash. That's the one I was always told. It's a neck brace. Crisis response. Learn how to talk people that are having a panic attack or going through suicidal thoughts. It's scary from the outside, but fairly simple skill, and you don't have to solve the situation. Not making it worse is a night and day difference in helping that person pull themselves out of it.